Who would win in a duel? Who's the better teacher? And who had the better story? Today, we'll put some of the classic Wizarding World professors from the Harry Potter series up against some of our new favorites from Hogwarts Legacy. And for a battle this epic, I certainly could not do it on my own, so it's why I asked you, the community, as well as a few Harry Potter creator friends, to help me out. First up, it's Minerva McGonagall versus Matilda Weasley. There are quite a few similarities between these two, starting with the fact that they're both Gryffindors, both deputy headmistresses, and both have the respect of their students and colleagues alike. They're also incredibly talented witches that began their careers working for the Ministry of Magic, Weasley as a curse breaker, and McGonagall in a position with the Department for Magical Law Enforcement. McGonagall is certainly a bit more stern, whereas Weasley comes across as having a more warm demeanor, but which one of these characters would win in a head-to-head duel? It was a landslide victory in our community poll for Minerva McGonagall, as she took 91% of the vote with more than 17,000 votes cast. Our panel of creators also agreed, with 80% giving the nod to McGonagall in a duel. Benjamin Snow was particularly confident in McGonagall's abilities overall, saying, "I think McGonagall would slay them all if she wanted to." As for me, it's hard to disagree with these results. McGonagall held her own on more than one occasion throughout the original 7-book series, and who can forget her epic battle with Severus Snape. Weasley was certainly more than capable in our classes with her and during this epic battle at the end of the game, but we just have so much more to go on with McGonagall that it's hard not to give her the nod here. How about who's the better teacher? As great as they both are, this one was even more of a landslide victory for McGonagall, with her taking 90% of the vote from our creator panel. Honestly, I think this one would be pretty even for me and most likely depend on the personality of the student. I can see some learning better under Weasley's more gentle approach, but others may thrive under McGonagall's no-nonsense approach. Who has the better story? Another victory for McGonagall, as she again took 90% of the panel vote. And by the way, guys, there's even more to McGonagall's backstory than we got in the original 7 books. As Wizard PhD said in the survey, if you don't know McGonagall's full backstory, go get some tissues and search for it now. And so for the first professor battle, it's one vote for the OG professors, with Minerva McGonagall coming out on top. Up next, we have our Charms professors, Phileas Flitwick versus Abraham Ronen. Flitwick may not be as beloved as some of the original professors like McGonagall, but there's no doubt the head of Ravenclaw was an incredibly talented wizard and excellent Charms professor during Harry's years at Hogwarts. He was also part goblin, as well as a former dueling champion. Ronen, on the other hand, is our enthusiastic Charms professor in Hogwarts Legacy, and he certainly goes against many of the traditional Slytherin stereotypes. His stern upbringing from his father ultimately led to Ronen developing a love for games of all kinds during his time at Hogwarts. As professor, he loved to incorporate gameplay into his lessons, leading him to being a favorite among Hogwarts students during the late 1800s. Our dueling poll was closer here, but Flitwick took the victory with 66% saying he would win. And considering his status as a former dueling champion, this one is probably an accurate result. Again, our creator panel agrees with the community here, with 8 out of 10 responding saying Flitwick would win the duel. As far as who's the better teacher, we get our first clear win for a Hogwarts Legacy professor, with 70% of our panel going with Ronen over Flitwick. Ronen also came out on top when I asked who has the better story, with 8 out of 10 siding with the Hogwarts Legacy professor. And I have to say, I agree with both the panel and the community yet again here. I think Ronen could hold his own in a duel, but probably wouldn't stand much of a chance against Flitwick considering his experience in dueling. As for teaching, I really enjoyed Ronen's style in Hogwarts Legacy, and of course with it being a video game, his love for gameplay and introducing us to the Summoner's Court minigame has to play a big factor here. He does have an interesting backstory, but I think you could make a pretty good argument that Flitwick's is more interesting. But it's also fair to say we don't really get much of that backstory in the books. Overall, looks like Ronen will take this round over Flitwick. Now we head to the dungeons to decide which potion master will come out on top, with Severus Snape versus Aesop Sharp. Again, we have some similarities here, with both being of House Slytherin and similar brooding demeanors. Sharp worked as an Auror for the Ministry and suffered an injury to his leg on the very same assignment that actually took the life of his partner. Not wanting to be stuck at a desk for the rest of his career, Sharp opted for the potions job at Hogwarts instead. As for Snape, he remains one of the most iconic characters from the original series. From his love for Lily and being bullied at the hands of the Marauders, to his decision to become a Death Eater and serve Lord Voldemort, to ultimately turning spy for Dumbledore, Snape is one of the most fascinating characters from the entire series. He was also an incredibly powerful wizard, with many slotting him a notch just below Dumbledore and Voldemort. And let's not forget, as Last Marauder points out, Snape even created his own spells, with some of them being really powerful dark magic. Even with Sharp being a former Auror, and even if we have this hypothetical duel before his injury, it's hard to see him besting Severus Snape. And no surprise here, you guys agreed with more than 16,000 votes and 91% of you saying Snape would win the duel. Our creator panel was almost identical, with 9 out of 10 siding with Snape. As far as who's the better teacher, I have to give that one to Sharp, and 90% of the creator panel agreed. Even though Snape definitely knew his subject matter, his abrasive teaching style at times even veered into abusive, especially for Harry and his friends. And while no one is going to label Sharp as gregarious, his rigid structure and no-nonsense attitude seem to come more from a place of wanting to see students try their best and not simply settle for getting by. Who has the better story though? Sorry, Sharp, but this one was our first unanimous poll result, with 100% of the panel saying Snape had the better story. To be fair, Sharp could have a fascinating story that we just don't know yet, but Snape's character arc throughout the entire books is really, really tough to beat. So Sharp takes one of the 3 questions here, but Snape is going to come out on top overall, which gives the Potter professors a 2-1 lead. Next, if I had to name the one Hogwarts Legacy professor that's gotten the most love from fans, I think it would have to be our herbology professor, Mirabelle Garlick. But does she have what it takes to knock off Pomona Sprout? Garlick is a Muggle-born Hufflepuff with an incredibly cheerful and welcoming attitude. She received the Hogwarts Herbology Award during her 7th year. Miranda Lorian had some really passionate words for Garlick here. Garlick is goated. Team Garlick, yeah! Sprout is also a Hufflepuff though, and she attended Hogwarts during some of the same years as McGonagall, with them overlapping by 2 years. She would often bring interesting plants from the greenhouses to decorate the Hufflepuff common room. But for one of the original Potter professors, we really don't have that many details and backstory from Sprout. She does play a fairly prominent role in the Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery mobile game. As for a duel though, this one is probably even more guesswork than the others. We never see Garlick in battle during the video game, and while we see a few examples of Sprout joining the fight in the books, she's often using magical plants rather than her wand. Both the community and the creators agreed here. They gave the nod to Professor Garlick in a duel. She received 75% of the community votes and 80% from the panel. Who's the better teacher? Another big win for Garlick at 90% of the panel vote here, and it was actually another 90% in favor of Garlick on who had the better story. I can see why this one was a bit harder, given that we know so little about Sprout's backstory and also very little about how these two would fare in a duel. Truth be told, they would probably seek to avoid a duel in any way possible, especially if it was a duel against one another. On the story side, it's probably more about potential with both of these characters. We get a little bit on Garlick and her friendship with Sirona Ryan through letters. We also know she's still waiting for the right witch to come along when it comes to a romantic partner. Sprout, as I mentioned, features prominently in Hogwarts Mystery, but it's mostly just her working as the herbology professor and not much when it comes to introducing new backstory for her. Overall, I have to side with the panel here and give this one to Professor Garlick. And would you look at that, heading into the final round, we have 2 wins for the Potter professors and 2 wins for the Hogwarts Legacy professors. And honestly, this last one though is by far the toughest one to tackle. The fact that it is even this close, I think, is a testament to the wonderful job Avalanche did with the professors in Hogwarts Legacy. Nightly Nerd did a good job summing this up here. The professors from both the books and game were special in their own way. I wish we got to know all of them better, especially the professors from the game, as it's a living world rather than a narrative series that has no room to change. Side characters in gaming have the special opportunity to be explored in depth. Expecto Go also echoed this sentiment, saying the Hogwarts Legacy professors didn't get enough time to show their teaching skills. Great backstories though, so that made it hard to figure out who would win in a duel or who was the better teacher. But that being said, guys, we do need to crown a winner here. So to decide it all, we turn to Defense Against the Dark Arts with Dinah Hecat versus Remus Lupin. Professor Lupin, a Gryffindor, played a vital role in the original series when he was introduced to us during Harry's 3rd year at Hogwarts. We learned of his friendship with Harry's father James, and he taught Harry about a variety of dark magical creatures. Perhaps most importantly though, he taught Harry the Patronus charm, which he would need at a few key moments throughout the story. Dinah Hecat is of House Ravenclaw and has what I think is the most fascinating backstory in all of Hogwarts Legacy, at least when it comes to the professors. She introduces us to dueling, encourages us to join the Cross Wands Dueling Club, and we also learned that she worked for the Ministry of Magic as an unspeakable before coming to teach at Hogwarts. As a student, she was voted head girl and excelled in her studies. And for the first time throughout this entire battle, our community and the creator panel disagreed on who would win the duel. You guys, the community, voted 68% in favor of Professor Lupin. Our creator panel, however, it was close, but we saw a 70-30 split in favor of Professor Hecat. So I guess that leaves me to break the tie here. And guys, as much as I love Lupin as a character, and he's certainly a strong wizard, I have to go with Hecat in a straight-up duel. Okay, so here's my reasoning here. Unfortunately, due to Lupin being bitten by a werewolf, he likely did not have the same opportunities as Hecat, especially after graduating from Hogwarts. She also introduces our character to dueling in Hogwarts Legacy, and we see her playing a big role in the final battle of the game. Lupin certainly showed he was more than capable in battle throughout the series, but taking all of these factors into account, I'm siding with Hecat by an ever so slight margin. The next question may surprise you a bit, as our creator panel came out strongly in favor of Lupin on who's the better teacher question. Lupin received 90% of the votes here. So with that, it's all tied up going into the final question, and all that's left, who had the better story? Now, I already said that Professor Hecat had what I think was the best backstory of the Hogwarts Legacy professors. If you missed this line of dialogue in the game, it only happens when you return to her classroom and have additional conversations with her. You'll learn she's actually much younger than she appears. She went to school with Professor Black. During her time at the Ministry, though, she was wounded by time itself. It seems highly likely that she studied the very same time room we see all those years later when Harry and his friends battle the Death Eaters in the Department of Mysteries. That being said, though, Lupin's story, from Marauder to Werewolf to Professor and ultimately to husband and father, were amazing. And again, to be fair, Hecat's story has the potential to rival this, but we just have so much more already on Lupin. Purple Witcher said, Hecat's desire for action means she wins the duel. Lupin didn't do that much teaching, but his Animagus story is fascinating. Overall, the creator panel would agree 90% of the votes went to Remus Lupin, which means by an ever so slim margin, the Potter professors just barely come out on top over the Hogwarts Legacy professors. The professors aren't the only ones with great stories in Hogwarts Legacy, though. No character has been discussed more than our Slytherin companion, Sebastian Sallow. I have a full breakdown of Seb's complete storyline and the emotional impact of that journey already live on my channel. I'll link it on the right side of the screen now. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks to the creators and the community for participating. I'll talk to you again soon.